I had to watch my entire family go to the bitter end before I was like, maybe these people really mean what they say, and that this big book says what it means and means what it says. And I was broken enough and mindless enough, spineless enough, heartless enough, soulless enough. If you're new and struggling with this powerlessness, don't try and digest all the chunks of truth in one swallow. Take your time. Easy does it. All those lame cliches really do make sense, particularly if you're just trying to make it to the end of the night sober.
Welcome. This show empowers you to confront and overcome addiction with real stories, inspiration, and a host of resources. Our growing community supports, uplifts, and takes action to enable a new way of living. Now, F3 Recovery brings you the Super Sober Podcast. Welcome to Super Sober Podcast number 48. It's unbelievable the momentum we've been getting. We've been doing a lot of interviews with a lot of rad people, but we know that Super Sober Podcast is a journey of inspiration and education. We're going to be getting to the education back here, and it's going to be awesome. Just want to let you know I'm your host. My name's Brett C. My sobriety date's 4/21/03. I'm an RN with a BSN, helping people out with this crazy convoluted disease addiction. I got some awesome guests back in the studio for some awesome education. Let's go and introduce ourselves, starting on my left over here.
I'm Mike G. Been working in a nonprofit for the last 15 years. My sobriety date is October 16th, 2022. Thank you for having us.
What's up, guys? Demetrius F, sobriety date 11/24/95, and just trying to continue to make homes more affordable.
That's right.
Good to see you guys.
Talk about powerlessness.
Exactly.
Shit, man. Al Lending over here with D's back on the scene, and Mike G. If you haven't checked out some of the dynamic podcasts we've done in the past with the Holding On series, the Letting Go series, and the Haters of the Programs episodes that we've done together. Mike G's done his whole story. Check that one out. It's rad. And then probably maybe we'll get Dean's story to do his story.
Yeah,
you never know. Yeah, okay, rad. We're locking up another podcast here on 48. We're almost coming up on 50 podcasts. Unbelievable. Never thought it would happen. And don't forget about Solomon here, the best in the business here in Long Beach, California.
That's right.
That's right.
Where are you at, dude? Oh, shit.
Oh, I got a clap.
Come on, man. Well, let's get a little bit of air horns for him. We're doing it for everybody else. We might as well, right? Before we get things rolling here on the first step, we're going to be going over powerlessness, unmanageability, and surrender. Man, talk about the basics, the foundation of the program on step one. But we're going to do some rad sobriety milestone shout outs here like we always do. We're going to go with Ta with 1 year. We're going to do with Eddie B with 4 years. Shout out, brother. He's been on the podcast before. We're going to do a collateral shout out to another awesome podcast, The Hopeaholics, with Chaddick. He has 9 years. Shout out to them over there. They're always doing rad stuff in sobriety. They do a couple Zoom meetings a week and stuff. They're over on the coast, and that's I think it's Hope by the Sea is their platform. But yeah, they do a lot of great work. Shout out to him on 9 years, and shout out to the big dogs, the program. 91 years of Founders Day on 6/10/35 of the AA program. Let's go. Come on. Yeah, Solomon's got the clapping on that one, man. It's 91 years, Founders Day, June 10th. I've been shouting it out the whole series that we're going to be like, man, 9 years to go, 100 years of AA. Where's that going to be at? Where are we going to be partying for that one? It's going to be unbelievable. We're going to be rolling Cleve in the front door over there. At 100 years, we got to get them. We got to shout out to Clevester. You know what I mean? We're going to be rolling deep. I don't know where that 100-year AA reunion is going to be, but it's going to be worldwide. It's going to be unbelievable. My goal is to one day at a time it for the next 9 years. So, but we're going to get into it here. We're going to be going over some education. We need to get back some education. People are struggling with step one. People are on the struggle bus, period. But whether you got zero time, you're a newcomer, a mid-timer, a long-timer, an old-timer, whatever timer you got, it's always good to get back to basics, right, guys?
That's true.
Right. You know what I mean? it is the first step right here. We're going to be going over powerlessness for sure. We're going to be doing some slides. We're going to be doing some rad videos with some Father Martin. You don't want to miss this podcast. That's for sure. We're going to be cranking it out. And man, just think about if you're listening to the podcast and you're kind of struggling what it all means, don't just judge a book by its cover. You know, that's why our book is probably the most unconspicuous cover of all books. You'd be looking at that, it's all blue. Well, what's this? So people will be thinking like, oh, I'm not going to be powerless over anything. I see the people on social media, they're judging the program by the first step. We know that powerlessness happens once we take that drink. Right now, we have a lot of power going, right? We got the power of choice and stuff, but we know all three of us, if we take a drink or we take that first drug, a lot is going out the door. That's right. So let's go to that first slide, Solomon. Right now, we're going to do powerless, unmanageability, and surrender. And let's go ahead and read that one right there, Solomon, on the first one. Powerless over alcohol. Step 1 of AA simply states, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. These words from the Big Book introduce the idea of honesty, what they call the first spiritual principle in the program. Basically, this steps asks people to recognize that they can't control their drinking and that alcohol has created problems in their lives. When AA first began back in 1935, founders Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith came up with this step based on their own struggles with problematic substance abuse. They noticed that many people with drinking problems spend a lot of time trying to control their drinking before they finally asked for help. In AA's approach, step 1 works like a doorway into the program. It's about recognizing there's a problem and that trying to solve it on your own hasn't worked. AA sees this acknowledgement as necessary before moving on to the other steps in the program. Let's go to that next one there, Solomon. Powerlessness over alcohol. Powerlessness means admitting that once we take a drink, we cannot predict or control what happens next. It is not about being weak. It is about recognizing that alcohol has power over us that willpower alone cannot overcome. And some of these bullet points are: the mental obsession returns despite consequences. One drink triggers a craving for more. Repeated failed attempts to moderate or quit. Loss of power of choice in the matter of drinking. Man, this is me to 110%. My last 3 relapses, unbelievable. Powerlessness. The only ones that can stop me once I start are our wonderful police departments. Shout out to all SoCal police departments for helping corral me back into the program each time. Never thought I'd give a shout out like that, but here I am doing it. And then we're going to go into our first video, which is kind of crescendo into the powerlessness over that. If we can go to that one, Solomon. This is Father Martin. All of his stuff is online. We've shouted him out before. If you haven't checked out his Chalk Talk, you haven't gotten to the basics of stuff like this, he can break it down like no other. Thank God that this run of sobriety, I did a lot of his Chalk Talk, and man, it just hit me hard. And it was irrefutable truth, as he puts it, from his mentors that passed it on him. Let's go to that first video.
A powerlessness over alcohol. That's a horrible thing to ask any human being to do, is to admit he's powerless over anything. And yet he had to surrender to win the war. That is the great paradox of recovery. We surrender in order to gain victory. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But you know what it boils down to? Alcoholics and drug addicts are perfectly otherwise intelligent men and women. This is the comparison I always use. They climb into a boxing ring every day of their lives with a champion and get beat up. And they keep getting into the ring. 16 years they get out of bed all black and blue, crawling along the floor, heading for the ring. Guess what's going through the little BB shot that they call a brain? How can I not get beat up today? While they're putting the gloves on. AA leans over their shoulder. And now listen to what AA says. Don't get in the ring. If you don't fight, you don't get beat. AA says if you don't take a drink, you can't get drunk. The obvious. The obvious. Why didn't I think of that? Begins here. If I can't win, what sense does it make to fight? And so step one is an acknowledgement of one's condition. And in my opinion, it is something that you keep inside your heart as well as your mind. You keep it inside your heart as you would keep a sobriety token in your pocket. You finger it often, and you finger with the fingers of your heart and your mind and your soul this thought here: I am powerless over alcohol. It's a deepening of a conviction. And the deeper that conviction is in your soul, the more seriously will you work the other 11 steps of the AA program. This is the first step in the ladder out of the pit of alcoholism or drug addiction.
Thanks, Solomon. Out of the pit, the steps brought me unbelievable. I was fighting everything my senses could fight when I got into here. I couldn't accept society. I couldn't accept the way that I was being treated. I couldn't accept that I wasn't going to be able to drink or use again. I mean, you're taking away my number one coping skill. I mean, it got me through, that far in life. But I see people that are so smart. The graveyard is just full of people just crushed by this disease. The number one champion, right, of addiction, right? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I love that analogy. You surrender to win. How many times in combat was it better when they sat down with the generals, and how many more people were going to be lost? And they just said, look, we need to sign this treaty. This is over. And everybody rejoiced, even the people that lost. So sometimes what you consider to be a loss could be your most powerful gain. And definitely with the power, I'm so powerless of what happens to me. I don't know where I'm going to end up. You've heard our stories. We've heard Dee talk about everybody else. If you're one of those people and you think that, I love the meme, right, where it goes, our partying is not the same. You party, you wake up the next day. I party till I'm in jail or a homeless, or you know what I mean, right? It's a different kind of party going on for the stage 4 alcoholics, and it's unbelievable. So, what do you guys got on powerlessness, man?
Well, I mean, that was just incredible. Like, about the powerlessness. I remember one time before I got sober, I was in a hotel, and my dad had gave me the last $30 for this hotel room. And some guys came over with a can of beer, and we went back and forth. And I knew that if I drank, I'd be homeless one more time. And I remember they were like, oh, we're going to go to this. It was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They're like, we're going to go to this pool hall. And there was a can of Budweiser there. And in my mind, I remember going through this over and over again. Like, if you take this, you're going to black out. You're going to lose your hotel. And dude, I took that can of beer, and in the morning, they robbed my whole hotel room, and I was a blackout, and I was walking the streets in a blizzard in the morning, and so and then towards the end, of course, I come from an alcoholic family. I told myself I wouldn't be like my mom, and it led me to, wanting to drown in Long Beach and kill myself. I had to go to Stanton Detox. And I read the doctor's opinion in the recovery home. That's literally what happened. I read the doctor's opinion and found out I had this obsession and an allergy of the body, and it started from there. But I was done by the time I went to Stanton Detox in the recovery home. I was done. I had been drinking it, and even though I was in the streets, I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what the problem was. My mom had went to different hospitals, and I just didn't know. I had no clue. But when I read the doctor's opinion, I was like, oh, that's it. There it is right there. Oh, you're allergic to alcohol. You have a mental obsession. And then it was going on to say that there's no cure for it. We suggest entire abstinence. That's something me and Mike were talking about this morning. And I was like, oh man. And that, for me, that was like kind of terror, because I was like, oh, well, this is not going to work. Like how are you going to be abstinence from alcohol for the rest of your life? I don't know how you're going to. And I just did what Bart told me to do, the guy at the house. And I went through these steps, and I've had this psychic change and some power, and I've been sober ever since. I mean, I think the surrender, though, if I may, just real quick, is now I've been sober a while. The powerlessness, it's like you were talking about it. It's so simple in its application that now it's applying to everything. I can apply. I can grab for that powerlessness in other things, and it doesn't have to be a detriment. Now I can go, oh, this doesn't work, and it leads me now to success in other ways.
Right.
It's such a paradox, right? Like if I give it away and let it go, now I seem to get the power. It's very, very strange. It's very strange.
It's the thing, right? What you resist will persist.
Mhm.
So all the stuff that you were resisting, all the things that people are out there just tensed up. What's going to happen? What happens if you just let go of all that? What could come in?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of peace could come in if you're just like, stop fighting everybody and just realize that you're powerlessness over your kids. I'll tell you that much. You try to run their show, man, you see what detriments that come in later.
Mm-hmm.
And don't break down that communication with your kids. If you can keep that line of communication open with your kids throughout their life, that could be one of the most important things I could ever stress.
Mm-hmm.
So they got someone to come to that they can trust, and you should be one of those people you can trust. And the powerlessness I have over everything, just like what Dee was talking about, it's just I'm so powerless.
Unbelievable.
But then I do gain a lot of power in so many other aspects. So I see Mike wanting to jump in the ring here, right here.
Yeah. I mean, I love this topic. As Father Martin said, like the more you can accept your powerlessness over your alcohol and drug use, the more willing you'll be to go through the proposals that are, quite frankly, pretty drastic. And it's no shock that people don't want to sign up to be, the good Samaritan every day and to be helpful being our only aim and the constant thought of others. I mean, it's asking a lot to the
Put
real
an order, I can't
alcoholic,
go through it.
right? And early on, I knew I was having an abnormal reaction to alcohol. I knew that when I drank, everybody else went home and I was just getting started, that I was getting ready to go on an adventure of types, and would wake up a little more broken and full of shame and guilt and hurt and pain. And I will have lost a few things along the way. And my very first thought wasn't, oh man, I messed up. I better, regroup. No, my thought was like, I need another. I need more. And I played that out for a really, really long time.
That is the regroup. More.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But, then you'd get abstinent on your own accord, trying to show that you have power over the first drink. And even when you know that you could get in trouble if you drank. And the reality is like, I heard a guy say this, it was really interesting to me. He said, I have an abnormal reaction to alcohol, but I also have an abnormal reaction to abstinence. Yeah. Yep. And so when I get separated from my medicine, alcohol or drugs, the subtle insanity that precedes the first drink starts to mess with my mind. I start to isolate. Some people say alcoholics treat loneliness with isolation, right? Mm-hmm. I found that to be true for me. I start to get resentful, irritable, restless, discontented. My shirt's a little loose. My shirt's a little tight. I got a little itch, a nervous predisposition. And I only know one way to fix that, and that's to drink or use. And the 12 steps offer a platform where you can discover those things about you which have been blocking you off from a higher power. The first question somebody asked me was like, oh, do you believe in a higher power? And I was like, that's a lot early on.
Yeah, bro.
When you're detoxing,
I didn't ask you all that.
Yeah, I got a rash that won't go away. You got cream? Yeah. Don't talk to me about a higher power.
You got to smoke.
And the truth is that I already had a higher power. I already was experiencing powerlessness. I already had a higher power. It was called drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. I kept returning to it like a dog returns to its vomit over and over and over again. And I needed a power greater than alcoholism. And so when it comes to the second step. And I know we're on the first step, but my life is manageable now. My life is manageable. It's just not manageable by me. I need people around me that give me good advice. I'm not the actor. I don't try and arrange the lights, the ballet, the scenery. Even on this podcast, Solomon's contributing a great deal, right? I couldn't do this on my own. And there's a lot of things in my life that I need help with. And I'm not ashamed of that or nor naive enough to think I'd be doing it better if I was all alone.
Yeah. And I would dig in a little deeper, if I may, just what Mike was talking about. It's a trip when you've been using drugs and alcohol as the coping mechanism for how you live forever. And then all of a sudden that switch is turned off. And now you're faced with like, well, how do I do this now? Well, the brain and the body's like, well, wait a minute. We don't do this without my little homie, right? Like my crutch. It's like, you got me stark raving sober, telling me to go through life and do this. And that is a trip right there. Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah, there's a whole mechanism
that is
within the brain that's happening.
Yes, exactly.
Unbelievable stuff you can learn from Pleasure Unwoven and the whole dopamine glutamate system and the hardwired to self-destruct situation. Right. Yeah. You got to give it some time. You got to let shit marinate. Yeah. But here we go right into, he said it, unmanageability. We're going to go into this third slide right there on unmanageability. Let's go into this 3-phase part of step 1, second phase. Lives become unmanageable. Unmanageability refers to the chaos, destruction that alcohol causes in every area of our lives. Even when we are not drinking, it shows up in relationships, finances, health, and emotional well-being. Some bullet points: broken relationships and isolation, financial problems and job loss, declining physical and mental health, inability to meet basic responsibilities, living in constant fear, shame, or resentment. Holy crap, let's go. Talk about unmanageability. People are just superficially gazing at step 1. They haven't worked with it. They haven't even seen a 12 and 12. We're encouraging you to get a big book, do something more than nothing, get a sponsor. Oh my God, what are we going to do? What does this all mean? And then you're going to tell me my life's unmanageable. Let's see what Father Martin says really quick on unmanageability on the second video. Thanks, Solomon.
Sound the obvious. Now watch this. Hey, don't tell me why my life was unmanageable. I haven't lost a family. I haven't lost a wife. I haven't lost a job. I still have 2 cars in the house. What he's not considering is you haven't lost them yet. If there are any of you in this room who have a litany of the nevers, somebody once said, keep drinking. All those good things will happen to you. But you don't have to. You've already proven to yourself hundreds of times the facts. Your drinking is causing trouble in your life. Yes, you still have your wife, but your marriage is dangling by a thread. One time a friend of mine had a patient walk into him and he said, I don't belong here. I've been here for a week. I've listened to everything you have to offer. I just don't think I belong here. And he went through this whole litany of nevers that everybody else is talking about. And when he finished, the boss of the place said, you've just told me all the things that alcohol has not done to you. Let's not talk about them. Let's talk about what it has done. It's brought you here, didn't it?
Chew on another little bit of irrefutable logic. What brought you here? What brought you to the podcast? What brought you to your first sober living, your first treatment center, your first detox? What brought you to what could be the greatest thing that ever happened in your life? Right? The gift wrapped in shit, as we've talked about in the podcast before. So many things that we're so backwards and confused and convoluted. And then we get this awesome gift, and that's not a gift. Well, what do you want me to do? And we're in the business of living, right? Where we get all these coping skills, and then we're talking about unmanageability. I wasn't managing anything besides I could manage me getting loaded and high another day. And, that consisted a lot of unmanageability. If I could have managed that, I would not be alive today, because I would have managed myself straight into the grave. Because that's where I was going with it. And I know a lot of brothers and sisters that haven't been able to grab or grasp at these concepts of how much unmanageability. They think that they're managing certain things, and it's not true. You're not managing very well. And the manageability it goes into all aspects. It's not just unmanageability with your drinking. We're not talking about that. We're talking about you first powerless, letting go of the alcohol problem and maybe getting yourself enough time to marinate for a little bit and then get a little bit more deeper than just superficiality, which most of us were living anyways. We couldn't even see what we couldn't see. Most of us were like, yeah, I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict. I'm having problems. But, I've normalized all that.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much I normalized and then how my life is now. And then I start slipping back into powerlessness and unmanageability and a lack of surrender and how bad that feels immediately. And I lived with that bad feeling and normalized. And that's, I could have told you at that point, I was feeling really good.
Mm-hmm.
And now just feeling even 5 minutes like that's like terror.
Yes.
Right? I get super flipping pissed off. And then the next thing you know, I'm driving down the street and then it just, I could be driving down the street the day before, but I'm driving down the street with some angst, a little bit faster than usual. The car's got a turbo on it. And then everybody seems to be cutting me off. And then now I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get into a fight.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. I haven't been in an issue with road rage in like years. And then I get bent to the left or right and I'm out there on the street. And then all of a sudden the shit starts attracting to me.
Yeah. I was trying to make it work, right? I mean, you're out there, you're not aligned, right? So I'm trying to make it work and I'm trying to, figure out my life and it's not working. Everything you're trying, it's not working. And really you're out of alignment, I think man gets frustrated, or I used to get frustrated with things that, excuse me, that I'm trying to force my will or control and none of it is working. And the unmanageability becomes because again, I'm out of alignment. Why am I out of alignment? Well, I'm just not connected to that power, right? Call it universe, call it God, call it whatever you want to call it, but it's just not working. So then I'm getting frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
I go, man, only if, my parents would do what they were doing. Only if, I get this job. Only if my son would do what he wants to do or whatever the case may be. Is back in the day, it was like, only if my mom would stop drinking. Like, what is that? Why are we living like this? And then after a while, the more I'm doing this, it's just not working. And I'm kind of losing my mind. And the drugs and alcohol are the only thing that's shutting that thing off. And I don't have no way to cure it. I come into the program and I'm like, oh man, you're supposed to surrender to win. I go, what does that mean? Surrender to win. Oh, I don't have to mess with it. I don't have to control it. And even if I did, it's not going to work anyway. I go, oh, that's the thing. And this I could get a lot more in, but I do believe that alignment and you're self-aligned with the universe or however you want to put it, and where I'm aligned with you guys, I can just feel that I'm on the right track. You know what I mean? And when I'm not aligned, it's when Demetrius is taking control and I'm trying to force my life into somewhere where it's not supposed to go, And sometimes it can get annoying because the answer is no. Oh, you're supposed to go right instead of left. Demetrius is fucking just doing what he wants to do. You know what I mean? And it gets very painful when I'm living like that. If that makes any sense,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And like, the worst part about,
excuse me,
or the best part of being in a delusion is that you don't even know you're in it.
Yes.
And I mean, my life in active addiction became the only normal one I knew. I remember thinking, I think I have the best phone on the bus. If advice worked, none of us would need the program, that's for sure, because we've been getting good advice our whole lives from family members and clergymen and just about everybody, teachers. And, the reality is like, you have to be there. You have to be at that place where you're convinced that your life ran by you can hardly be a success. And I did a lot of research and development. I spent a lot of time out there trying to prove that I was an exception to the rule, therefore non-alcoholic. And it's funny when you were reading the things that it was like, you lost your family, your home, your finances, grave emotional, mental disorders. And, we kind of bat our eyes at it. Like, whatever. Yeah, no, I'm good. I got a studio apartment. I don't quite have all the furniture, but I got a box with the sheet over.
You got some cinder blocks.
As my dining room table. Yeah. And, I had to watch my entire family go to the bitter end before I was like, maybe these people really mean what they say, and that this big book, when I was introduced to it, says what it means and means what it says. And at some point, it just kind of came to life. And I believe that's because I was broken enough and mindless enough, spineless enough, heartless enough, soulless enough, The Walking Dead, and I needed a miracle. And so, I mean, if you need a miracle, obviously you're going to find one.
Yeah.
And if you're new and struggling with this powerlessness, don't try and digest all the chunks of truth in one swallow. Take your time, one day at a time. All those things, taking it easy does it, right? All those lame cliches really do make sense, particularly if you're just trying to make it to the end of the night sober. I'm still doing that. I'm a few years in, but most of the time I wake up and I've got a great strategy that works against alcoholism. And that just gets me off the bench. That just gets me out into the mainstream of life, trying to face life successfully. And some days I have a really great time doing that. And sometimes I fall a little short, but I keep waking up with the willingness to start it all over again.
Heck yeah, here we go. Halfway through already. Hope you like what we're chewing on here. And let's go. If anybody needs any help out there, just call this number at 877-345-4138. That number again is 877-345-4138. That's His House New Creation. We'll be right back.
At Embrace Life Change, your journey to mental wellness begins in a place where understanding meets action, where care is personalized and recovery is achievable. With over 30 years of experience, our expert team offers a range of evidence-based treatments tailored to each individual's needs. From anxiety and depression to complex psychiatric disorders, our comprehensive approach includes cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness practices, and innovative programs designed for deep healing. Our small treatment groups ensure personalized care, fostering stronger connections, and a supportive community that empowers your recovery journey. Hear from those who've embraced change and found hope, healing, and a path to a better life with us. Embrace Life Change is more than a treatment center. It is a place where lasting change begins. If you or someone you love is seeking help, call us first. Let's take that first step together towards a brighter future. Embrace Life Change, nurturing mental health, where hope and healing meet.
Thanks for taking a second. We're back that quick. Let's go on surrender, unmanageability. And man, anybody else got anything on unmanagement of their lives? Wow. If you look into a lot of the people managing their own lives, or the way that I see how our own leaders manage things, man, it's easy to get disillusioned really quick. And then you got other people teaching people how to manage their lives. I had people, good mentors, good family members and stuff. They seem to manage pretty well and come from a white white middle class family. And, but underneath the surface, there was some severe unmanageability that was opened my eyes as I went through the steps. It was enough to be hit with so much of it in the beginning, but as you go through the steps on the first rung of the ladder that Father Martin would say, I hope you guys can go back in there and check out some of the talk. And on the first step, there's Joe and Charlie. There's so many great mentors and people out there. And if you're not working the steps with the 12 and 12, I think you should. The 12 and 12, if you can metabolize half of that spirituality that's encompasses and what they knew that they needed more teaching on the steps, because the steps go pretty quick.
Correct.
Through the big book. You can get cranked right through between 60 and 63. And then when they go in through 6 through 11, it's fast. Yeah. Within a certain amount of pages, and it could be, you can miss some stuff, and that's why they came out with the 12 and 12.
That unmanageability is a whole podcast all within itself.
Right.
That unmanageability portion, you could really dive into like what's making my life unmanageable. It's a really good topic.
When I was growing up, I remember seeing these commercials about alcoholism, and it was like Schick, right? 2 weeks and a couple 2-week follow-ups. You know? So I don't know if that made an impression on me, but you know, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous turns into more like a lifestyle or a, you know, a way of life. But initially you're kind of treating it like alcoholism with like a common day cold, you know, like, I'll nip this in the butt and then I can go get back out there, you know? And then decades later, right? You know, if you're at home or you're, you know, somewhere and you're looking at the podcast and you're new in sobriety and you're looking at the commercial and they got this great glow about them and they're very attractive.
They're beautiful.
And you're thinking, yeah, my complexion is not so great, or my hair is not washed,
or my teeth are missing.
Yeah, or whatever it is. I want to let you know that we all started somewhere, and most of us started at the bottom, and you know, life was unbearable, and we became desperate enough to ask for help. Perhaps the hardest things to do as a man, but as a human, you know, saying, hey, I need help is the beginning. And I'd encourage anybody out there that's struggling to ask for help immediately.
Absolutely. Thanks for the disclaimer. Doop, doop. Yeah, let's go. Let's go into the third part right there into, oh my gosh, you know, into, it's just unbelievable, dude, with how much surrender needs to happen and stuff with the program, right? We got powerlessness, unmanageability. We're going to go into surrender. I mean, surrender is another one too. Willpower is not enough. Many alcoholics believe that if they just try harder, they can control their drinking. AA teaches us that willpower alone fails because addiction operates beyond conscious choice. Surrender, not force, opens the door to recovery. Willpower works short-term, but fades under pressure. The obsession of the mind overrides rational decision. True recovery requires a power greater than ourselves. Letting go is not giving up. It is finding a new solution. Let's go to that last slide on the PowerPoint, Solomon. The Lash of Alcoholism. The book explains that very few people willingly try to practice the AA program unless they have hit bottom. The pain and devastation of active addiction are what finally break a person's pride. Admitting complete defeat, true surrender is not just a mental agreement. It must come from the innermost self. It means entirely letting go of the illusion that you can ever safely control or moderate your drinking. The death of the ego. Surrender is the ultimate deflation of human pride and self-will. End of the God complex. It requires admitting that you are not the ruler of the universe and cannot control people, places, or outcomes. Breaking isolation. It cracks open the spiritual blindness of self-centeredness, allowing you to realize you are a part of a larger whole. Honesty as a spiritual act. True surrender requires rigorous honesty, which strips away the ego's defenses, rationalizations, and denials. Man, I've had so much ego puncturing. I don't even know who I am sometimes anymore. The amount of selfishness that I had, it was me. It was all about me. And as long as I took care of that aspect of me first, then I could maybe default to others. Inside of me, I always had a good heart. And thank God that there's some inside of me that it didn't take long with applying the first step, relieve me of that, and then moving into 2 and 3, that I quickly, as I did a huge 4-step, I did the 155 question 4-step, and we did 4 and 5. I was first time I chronicled my life in an objective, true way of what was really going on, to see my patterns, where I was at, and it was just eye-opening.
Yeah. And
I was just ready to die like that. I was in full acceptance. And then I read 417 paragraph 2 on acceptance. And, you know, I know this is about surrender, but man, I just surrendered to the program. I said, oh my God, I'm like, I felt so flipping free. I was like, man, all of this stuff and all these problems that I was like worrying about, and I felt there was some innate process that I need to solve the world's problems, and I wasn't even directly dealing with mine. It was unbelievable, right? And they go like, well, there's one thing you need to change in the program, and they'll hit you with this stuff right in the beginning. You're just talking about, it's like, how could you hit me? They're like, you need to change everything. And it's like, what? And it's like, you know how you change everything? And I'm all, oh. And they go, just change your perception. everything will change as your perception changes. And that is true. That is true. So for me to surrender, coming from being raised by a football and wrestling coach, just super aggressive. I wasn't going to surrender to anything. I didn't need to. We could outfight this problem. We could outthink this problem. We could manhandle this problem. We can just meet it face forward and whatever it is, right? That's how a lot of society teaches you how to get through things. And that's kind of like how I was taught. It's like, okay, we got a solution. It's not really, it's like the whole concept of surrender was very foreign to me to let that go. So here I am surrendering to this day. And man, look where it's gotten me. To a lot of ego puncturing, I'll tell you that. And it's still going on. So every time it happens, it doesn't feel good. It's another crumbling of my ego. But man, after a while, it feels even better.
It's kind of like a joke, right? Alcoholics Anonymous tricks you into going back to the power for me that I didn't want to access when I was younger. It's all hilarious. It goes all the way back around, and then you're like, oh, I still have to kind of address that part, that hole in me that I didn't want to address. And what is that hole? Well, it's like there's a spiritual component. I was like, what? I thought I would I remember growing up, there was no more premarital sex. I grew up in a religious family, and I remember, oh, I'm not coming here ever again. Yeah. I go, I'm not coming here ever again. And then in the recovery home, they started talking about God and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, here it is again. I thought I would just evade it. And here it just came right back. And I like how Bill was saying, they just trick you kind of into doing that inventory and accessing this power. Because it says in there, rebellion dogs are every step at first. The human mind is negative at first. I'm not doing that. It's like Mike said, it's like, I'll admit I'm alcoholic, but these other steps, I'm not going to really start doing an inventory and making amends to people. I just want to kind of take the heat off and do what I want to do.
I need a hard stop.
Yeah, I need a hard stop.
That's
exactly.
a new thing these days. I'm just coming in for a hard stop.
Yeah, and it tricks you. And then next thing you know, you do this inventory, you do this fifth step, you make amends to people, and you're like, well, what's that feeling? Oh, wait a minute, I'm connected. Yeah. I'm happy. You're like, oh man, you mean all I had to do was plug in all those years and I would have been all right? And then you just start laughing because it's just comical, you're right? But it takes a minute. You got to, back with Father Martin said, that surrender to get there. And without that, I think it's, until you admit that you got that unmanageability in that first step, it's difficult, But once you do, you're off on a different journey. That's for sure.
Yeah, let's go to that third video really quick with some Tony Robbins. Let's see someone's situation or take on surrender anyways. This isn't like AA's whole spiritual principles. Surrender goes across all self-help programs to a certain degree. So let's see what he has to say about it.
What if surrender equaled victory? What if surrender was the ultimate victory? What if surrender was you're still giving your all, but you've surrendered to a higher power for the outcome? This is the outcome I'm perceiving. This is what I'm going for. It's kind of like when I was a kid. I knew my exact goals. What's going to do? How am I going to do it? And as I matured, I was like, no, this is the mountain I'm going for. That determines my direction. But as I get closer, I'm going to have more knowledge, more skill, more insights. I might decide to go over the mountain. I might go through it. I might go under it. I might climb up on top and take some time for perspective. But when you're making the decision back here, you don't know that till you get closer. So it's like, might be time to think about, is the direction to move?
Nice. The right direction. What do you think, Mike?
I love it. You may be thinking, sounds good, right? But how do I get started? And the truth is, you're already well on your way. It's already happening. You're already being introduced to a different way. And recently I heard somebody say, drugs and alcohol were never killing you. It was your pride. Yeah. And as Martin was talking about getting into the ring over and over again, some people will take that all the way to death. This is a cunning, baffling, powerful disease. And, we could have lost all our limbs and we'll be out on Beach Boulevard doing circles, going, just one more. I can do it. I can do it. that place between one more and no more, and one more and no more. And yeah, I mean, it is, you truly have to surrender. And I think like your perception of surrender is like, okay, what would you have me do? I'll do anything. That's not how it is. We're kicking and screaming the whole way. It's an insult to your intelligence. It's an open book test. The solution to your problem sitting right next to you, right? All these spiritual paradoxes that sound so complex are actually really, really simple. You start thinking of yourself less and thinking of others more. And, you're praying to a God you don't understand. And pretty soon you start to notice these coincidences, right? And your brain starts saying, is this God or is this odd? And the program slowly comes to life to you. So easy does it one day at a time. Truly a big fan of those concepts now more than ever, right? As responsibilities start being thrown at me and my life gets a little bigger, my program's got to get bigger too. And my commitment and dedication to this new spiritual life has to be revamped frequently. And I find that through helping others and working with newcomers and going through the steps with other people. And my sponsor will definitely keep me in place too.
Yeah. Amazing stuff, man. That is right. The one that I heard recently is coincidences are God's way of staying anonymous. Yeah. That's a great one. There's so many good golden nuggets, but you're going to miss all the golden nuggets, man. We've hit struck a mother lode that we need to give away. All the paradoxes and all the cliches and all the stuff won't mean anything if you don't get in that direction and stuff, right? That's what we want you to get first into AA or whatever we say, get a commitment. Once you commit to something, then you're going to find some courage to stay on that commitment, right? Then you're going to be able to get some capabilities along with that commitment, right? After 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, things start to change. Things start to hit, and what you thought was so annoying becomes a working part of the mind. Imagine that. It's not like, I got to go to that meeting. I got to go call my sponsor and all that. You'll be like, damn, I can't wait to talk to my sponsor later. Yeah. It's like, holy shit, man.
Because I want more of that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And if you don't call when things are good, you're not going to call when things are bad. Just fucking call. Just do something more than nothing. And then you'll see, like Tony Robbins was saying, he's like, as you're walking towards that mountain, what used to be this mountain of stuff, you've got all these different capabilities now and courage and confidence. And then you're going to be able to cycle it through and keep going. But we're going to go into something we haven't done in some latest podcasts that we were doing for a little bit, is we're going to take a pause, as you should, throughout the day. And we're going to be doing a little meditation minute with David Trotter behind the lids. So let's just take a pause right here in the middle of the action and go to a meditation minute. What do you guys think?
Perfect.
Hi, my name is David with Behind the Lids, and I want to invite you to experience a moment of meditation and breath. We're going to do this by visualizing a peaceful place in our mind and utilizing a technique of circular breathing, where we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth in a circular pattern without stopping at the top or bottom. Breathing in peace, exhaling stress, anxiety, resentments, and worries. If you'd like to go ahead and close your eyes, envisioning that place of peace in your life. Perhaps it's a beautiful beach or mountaintop, or maybe somewhere where you go in your home where you feel peaceful. Envision that place right now and begin to breathe in through your nose, breathing in that peace. Exhaling, breathing in, exhaling stress and anxieties and worries and resentments, breathing in peace, exhaling, keeping that visual in your mind eye of the peaceful place, breathing in that peace, exhaling those resentments, stresses, and frustrations. One last breath in and exhale. And slowly open your eyes. Feel that peace? This is something that you can experience anytime, anywhere by closing your eyes and breathing in that peace and exhaling anything that no longer serves you.
Bam, it could be that quick. You can just take a minute, pause when you're agitated or doubtful. They say with every year you get another second of pause. And what is your responsibility? We're going through what we did here on the first step. I hope you guys are liking it so far. But we're going to go into some quick questions, unless you got something more on surrender real quick, guys.
No, I just
All
liked
right.
what Tony Robbins thing. It was good.
Yeah. You know, if you type in surrender or any unmanageability or powerlessness, you're going to see a whole, as Father Martin would say, litany or whatever, a whole list. And there's going to be all these people teaching it. These are spiritual principles. This isn't something owned to AA or whatever. AA's design for living is, in my opinion, the greatest design for living ever created. There's not too many programs that are all about a design for living. You know, there are out there, and whatever it is, pick something, go with it, do something, right? But we are dedicated here to the 12 steps. We practice that. We see the results in people's lives. We're out there doing things. We're helping people in doing it. But let's go to some quick questions right here. What do you think, Mike? Many newcomers mistake surrender for weakness or defeat. How did your perspective on surrender change once you got into the program?
Well, you read like faith without works is dead, you know, and many times I'd show up to AA and, you know, kind of be halfway in, and somebody'd walk up to me and be like, hey, you want to put your name on the phone list? My thought would be like, why the hell would I put my name on the phone list? I don't plan on staying that long, right? And they'd pass the basket, you know, the basket would come by me, and it's like, nah, maybe next time, right? If they'd ask for newcomers to come up and get a chip and, you know, celebrate the beginning of something, hopefully life-changing, I'd be like, I already did that before. And for some reason, the transition from being beaten into a state of reasonableness, this time it was like, oh yeah, I want to put my name on the phone list. Oh yeah, I'll put the shopping cart back. I'll get a job. I'll get a sponsor. I'll read the book. I'll do my prayer and meditation. You know, it's very internal what happened, right? As we're trying to describe this surrender. But for me, it just looks like willingness to take action against this disease, bring your ass and your head will follow kind of mentality. Monkey see, monkey do.
Smart feet.
It seemed really simple when I was at that place, and sometimes still can be.
Yeah. Great retort there, of course. What about you, D? What does turning it over actually look like in your day-to-day life when a stressful situation arises?
Well, I've been 15 years self-employed, and I just had to get a job. And so now I'm working, acting like I'm not self-employed, and have to deal with coworkers. And I've had to turn it over. And there's a guy I can't stand already. And I've had to put these two hats on and just turn that over. And that's literally where I'm at right now. And it's just, and that's just been a series of things like that over the years. But I bring that up is that, you know, you got to be willing to go through these different doors. And that's something I'm dealing with now, you know, and as economy's doing what it's doing or whatever. And I kind of laugh at myself because you know, you got to do what you got to do. And you know, even with my son and different things like that. So that's one example, you know, of just turning it over, you know.
That's unbelievable. I mean, thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry about that.
No. It's good though, because we think that things are going to be how they're supposed to be in recovery too.
Yeah.
It's easy for us to settle at a point to be like, oh man, I've been working myself for 15 years. How could God make me go back and then start working with other people again? It was, I was my own boss. I was pretty good with me being my own boss for a while. And it wasn't so much unmanageability or surrender, you know, things were going smooth, but you never know where this dive back inward, working with other people can bring you back through. And to be able to be flexible and pliable at any point in our recovery, You don't know where God's going to move us. And then we think it's going to be like, why are you punishing me, God?
Yeah. And instead I look at it like a game. It's been a test, right? You're like, oh, can you do this without having a bad attitude? Can you change your direction mentally? And these are the things I talk to some of my friends about is, are you willing to alter your deal to go in a direction you need to go to? And some of those are difficult, right? You can stay in a rut and you can be rigid about a direction. But, recovery has taught me that, your God will take you where you need to go and he's there. So if you just take the step, then, that's what faith is, right? And then you learn from that. And as you get more faith and more steps, you get better and better. It's just grabbing more pieces of freedom is the way I really look at it, right? Yeah. And the more you're willing to do that, you can get through some stuff.
Yeah, and I think like consequences bring you to a place where turning it over seems like a valuable option.
That's a fact.
Right?
That's a fact.
And then once you get sober, the promises are, it's like the consequences brought you there, but the promises are what keep you there.
Yeah.
So you start experiencing the promises, life takes on new meaning, you have new purpose and a new directive, right? And life gets really big and you want your program to follow that suit, right?
And it will always be that way.
Always.
You will always have to make changes and decisions that you don't want to make. And it's if you're willing to go through that door to make those decisions. That will always be until we pass away. That's a fact.
That's awesome. I'm glad we went into that. These are some great questions going into it. And I challenge listeners to ask themselves their own questions.
That's right.
And with this, and then how can you pull yourself out of yourself and objectively look at the situation and how things are moving in your life, how God is working in your life, and how these people have come into your life. And then you're still at a point, you could be at 5, 10 years, 17, 21, whatever, 36. And they're like, how could you do this to me now, God? I've been such a faithful servant and I've done so much work with people. And then this is how you treat me. And it's like, oh man, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget the basic things that we were so willing to go through in the early recovery, that later recovery, we're like, no, man, this is the life that you made for me, God. You can't, keep on adjusting and doing things. But we're at the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening, man. It went by quick. Thanks for showing up, Mike and D, as always. Yeah. But we're going to be shouting it out right up on the board right here. On the thing is the new product out there that we're pushing is the recovery time links. The miracles displayed in a new way, so you never forget how far you've come. You can just put them into a new display. A lot of other displays only display as a rigid process and they don't grow with you. You can take any chip and put them in there. You can go on to recoverytimelinks.com and check it out. And shout out to His House again and New Creation for covering us up. We're on all platforms. You can be reached us on the email at info@f3recovery.org. info@supersoberpodcast.org. And we are on f3recovery.org as that. We can be reached on all platforms. Anything you just punch in Super Sober Podcast, we're there. We're on social media, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. If you want to see our beautiful faces, go to YouTube and you can see the whole PowerPoint. You can go into all the different podcasts that we've done. We've had unbelievable stuff. And don't forget about the Detox, the Story of Addiction, the first streaming series for recovery ever written. A story of addiction, the deadliest disease that man has ever known. We're still shouting it out here. Maybe someone will pick it up. It needs to be done. Just imagine, I can't believe it hasn't been done. And it's unbelievable. Shout out to Notorious JID, the first mascot of recovery, just hanging out over there. That's Notorious Jails, Institutions, and Death. Oh my, we got a little bit of fun for everything on Super Sober Podcast. We are doing it here. We're going to be coming up on episode 50. Maybe we should get like 10 more couches and bring in all the guests, remote everybody in, make Solomon work his ass off and have like 15 different people up here. What do you think, Solomon?
We can make it happen.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Thanks, Solomon.
Wow, dude. 15 remote ins and a couple more couches, man, for episode 50. Yeah, I don't know about all that. Man, sometimes it's hard enough just getting us in here, let alone everybody else. So, man, any last words here for the last minute, guys?
No, that was awesome.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
As you were shouting out, like saying the Zoom call, my brain immediately went to celebrity death match. So my creative juices are flowing, and I appreciate being invited on the show.
Of course, man. Thanks again, guys. And as always, here on Super Sober Podcast, keep on keeping on. Thank you for listening to the Super Sober Podcast. Go to our website at f3recovery.org. That's F3Recovery, all one word, .org. We're turning fight, flight, and freeze into free form and flow through practicing the 12 steps and staying accountable to change. Don't forget to keep on keeping on.